As the popularity of video games has skyrocketed in recent years, questions have been raised about how video games affect the brains and behaviors of those playing them. While some people believe that video games have more benefits than drawbacks, increasing cognition and creativity, others believe that video games have increased violence and decreased attention spans in those playing them. At first glance, it may seem that video games are simply for leisure, but they do in fact have many positive benefits. Research done by Vikrant Vajanki and colleagues in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences has shown that playing video games can increase perception, attention, and cognition in those playing them. Researchers have also observed that playing violent video games can provide players with an aggression-reducing catharsis, potentially decreasing violence as opposed to increasing it. Another positive benefit of video games is video games in an educational context. Using video games to help teach children can make learning more stimulating and interesting for students and teachers alike. In addition, presenting learning in fun and innovative ways can increase the probability that students become interested in the topic. For games such as World of Warcraft, where players must solve puzzles and problem solve in order to complete tasks and defeat enemies, researchers have observed an increased capacity to solve problems and also increased creativity. Finally, groundbreaking technology in the virtual reality department has helped individuals recover from a variety of issues, such as recovering from PTSD, coping with phobias, and overcoming addiction. For example, there are games which simulate traumatic experiences for war veterans to help cope with PTSD by utilizing exposure therapy. Not only do video games affect the ways our brains perform, they also affect the structure of our brains. Researchers show that the region of the brain in gamers that controls attention, posterior-parietal cortex, is more efficient, requiring less activation to stay focused. However, not all video games affect our brains in the same way. A study found in molecular psychiatry stated that individuals who played Super Mario, an adventure game, gained gray matter in their hippocampus, while players who played action video games over the same period of time lost gray matter in their hippocampus. While there are many benefits to video games have downsides as well. Video games have been found to be addictive, with addicts experiencing alterations, both structural and functional, to their neural reward systems. The brain responses of these addicts when exposed to game-related cues resemble those of addicts with different addictive disorders, such as drug addicts. As previously mentioned, action video games cause players to lose gray matter in their hippocampus. This is due to the fact that the action video games stimulate the caudate nucleus more than the hippocampus, causing the hippocampus to lose gray matter as a result of lack of use. In light of the surge of school shootings recently, the most prevalent topic of debate about video games is whether they cause violence and contribute to this phenomenon. The APA has designated violent video games to be a risk factor for aggression, and in 2017, the APA Task Force on Violent Media found that violent video game exposure was linked to increased aggressive behavior, thoughts, and emotions, as well as decreased empathy. Some researchers believe that this aggression is due to the fact that players in video games are often rewarded for committing violent acts, following the principle of learning by doing, while others believe that the content of the video game is irrelevant and aggression is caused by losing at video games. However, it is critical to recognize that even though there's a link between video games and aggression, this link does not translate to criminal behavior and violence. While aggression is defined as angry and violent feelings, violence is defined as the use of physical force with the intent to injure another person or destroy property. In fact, research conducted by psychology professors Patrick Markey and Christopher Ferguson observed that those involved in mass shootings appear to be less interested in action video games than their non-violent counterparts, with only 20% of mass shooters playing violent video games as compared to 70% of non-violent individuals. In the end, the effect of video games on the brain and human behavior are nuanced and change depending on the type of game and the individual. While some games increase motor skills and memory, others can be detrimental to the hippocampus and result in aggression. It is important to understand the differences between these results of games and how different genres affect behavior in the brain differently. In the end, video games are for enjoyment and leisure, and while scrutinizing effective video games on behavior, one must understand not to overly analyze the effects of video games to the point where the enjoyment is sucked out of it.